What is up, guys? Fadeaway82 coming at you with another edition of Rust Cribs. What you're taking a look at right now is a preview of what's to come in the next episode. We're going to take a closer look at embrasures, and there's a cool water base that's being built that looks like a battleship. Pretty cool stuff, so stay tuned for that. But right now, guys, we have to actually go back in time. We haven't done a Rust Cribs for about 2 weeks, and we have to take a look at some bases during the past couple wipe cycles. Fellow Rust content creator and YouTuber Rust with Lou went ahead with a couple buddies and claimed an island as their own during the start of a wipe cycle. It was a really interesting experiment. I watched it for the better part of a week and filmed it throughout the course of that period of time. And what was so interesting about it was I never really thought much about the landscape in particular when we think about sort of Rust Cribs and where are people building and how are their bases, how well defended are they. But just like in real life, I think there is sort of a prime piece of real estate on servers, and in this case this island really stuck out in my mind as being a prime source to build a base. Now there was a very small piece of land, as you can see, that was connecting that island to the mainland. Now Rust with Lou and his friends, they went ahead and they walled off the island as best they could, but they really didn't need to do it to an extreme amount because the island itself was in the winter biome, sort of difficult to access for people, especially if they're going to get over there and not have building access to put fires down and stay warm. So they really developed this sort of own island paradise, this utopia for themselves. It was very interesting, and to the best of my knowledge, this base was not raided during that wipe cycle. They did a pretty good job of bottlenecking that little piece of land that connected the mainland to the island, so it was actually quite difficult to get over there if you weren't welcome, and it was a very, very interesting place to be. The island was very self-sufficient. Animals spawned fairly regularly out there, as did resources, so the members were very self-sufficient. They got a quarry and they got a quarry going out there to go ahead and refine the ore. I don't believe there was a pump jack there, but what they were able to do is still be very effective with the resources they were able to get because of the fact that they had the island which spawned the nodes, they had the animals, they had it all to themselves, and were really able to sort of be in this self-contained environment, which we don't see too often. Really, really cool stuff. Aliens have landed on Rustopia, and a couple wipe cycles ago they put together a well-fortified, sprawling compound in the middle of the Arctic biome. It was very well fortified and easily able to be defended against due to the positioning of the flank towers in each corner, and also the winter biome provides it with added protections in that it's very difficult to raid these compounds. The cover of night and the fear of anal probes also kept raiders away, so all in all this was a very effective base design. Taking a look at an absolutely massive compound out here in the desert biome, this was put together by the DMG crew, and this is probably one of the largest that we've ever filmed, if not the largest, in the series of Rust Cribs. It's a very effective compound. This was actually shown off in the second edition of the Rust Tactics, in which it was attempted to be raided, and it was a very difficult base to raid because they really just didn't know where to enter in. And as you can see here, there's many towers giving the defenders vantage points in any given direction, so they really have that sort of home field advantage when somebody attempts to raid this type of a compound. The scale of the compound is such that they didn't put all their resources into one big base, and instead it's spread out throughout the compound here, which is something that's very effective because when it's to be raided, people don't really know where the loot rooms are, and oftentimes the loot rooms aren't where you think they're going to be. They're not always in the biggest, baddest looking structures. So it's a really well thought out compound, and one that we saw that was very difficult to raid from that second edition of Rust Tactics. Some of the things here, guys, that you really want to take note of are the flank towers, which are those towers in each corner. And notice that they have vantage points not only inside but also outside the compound, because you need to be able to defend in that 360-degree radius if somebody gets inside your compound. LQM put together a nice little base design here that's a small, compact compound and main base. This was really interesting because the leader of LQM said that during this wipe cycle, their philosophy was, why build a massive base that no one wants to raid because it's too big and too sprawling? Instead, we're going to focus on building a tight, compact base here, and we're going to welcome the fight. And that's what they did, and this base was attempted to be raided a couple times by, I believe, Aliens, NS, and there were some big battles that went on during that wipe cycle at that location. The base did end up getting damaged, but they were able to recover from it and rebuild it, and it really did withstand the test of time. This is the type of base design that can be put together by a team of probably about 5 people working together in a relatively quick period of time, and it's really a good bang for your buck because the type of base like this is going to be giving you all the functionality that you need. You'll notice that it has its quarries and pump jacks on each side of it walled off separately, and then it has that main base in the middle, so they're going to be able to defend from that main base if anyone comes in those secondary areas. Really a beautiful design. This is a base design put together by Danny T and crew. Again, a smaller scale compound that can be put together by a clan of less than 5 people. Really, it's a great design. There's a main tower here in the middle which has a bit of a crow's nest at the top of it, and that tower is used to control all points inside and outside the base. It is built by a beach with the water to its back, which means that they can sort of predict where raiders might come from. Typically, people don't swim to a raid, so that's sort of a bit of a variable that they can control. That tower does give them a great firing radius though. They can shoot in any given direction and defend the compound quite easily. The 82nd Airborne and allies carved out a large tract of land here in the winter biome and put together a sprawling compound. When you guys are watching this footage, take note that the cost of those high exterior stone walls has changed, so they do cost a bit more than when this footage was taken. So in episodes of Rust Cribs to come, you're going to see that the high exterior stone walls are used a little more sparingly, but here you can see that they're absolutely layered and wrapped around the main bases here, and also they have a large perimeter wall with those high exterior stone walls. Now, this is an interesting thing, guys, because of course we want our bases to be well protected, but Rust has to always have that balance of having a base that has some vulnerability to it, and when you can just layer it up in multiple layers of those high exterior stone walls like you're seeing here, it's very difficult to raid and take sort of some of the fun out of it. So developers changed the cost of those high exterior stone walls, which makes the building a little more tricky this time, and you can't as easily just section off a base. This is really cool. What you guys are looking at right now are some signs that have been put together into sort of a winter camo pattern here. This is really awesome, and this is sort of a makeshift thing that players do right now, but in the future you're going to be able to see skins that can be used on the interiors and the exteriors of walls. So Facepunch is going to allow us to do wallpapers on the inside and possibly skins on the outside of the buildings. That's pretty cool stuff. This, guys, is a glimpse at the half blocks we used to use to make those double-story loot rooms. Now we have shelving that's been added into the game, but here's one last look at half blocks. And this, again, is something that we see here in a lot of clans. Each member has their own personalized room to stay in with their own loot, their own sort of space to live, and they decorate it with their own signs and flair. Really cool shit. So, guys, as we pan out here, we just sort of finish up on this edition of Rust Cribs. Just wanted to talk about building in Rust in general, how it's changed. So there's been some big changes in the past couple weeks with the removal of the half block. Some people were really butthurt over that, and I understand that it gave us a lot of functionality. Some of that functionality was added back in with the addition of shelving that's been put into the game, and also the embrasures, which we'll be taking a look at in depth in the next edition of Rust Cribs. So those things did help out a little bit, but I know that some people still miss some of the creativity that the half block allowed. And all I can say is that I'm confident that Facepunch fully understands that this is a building game in many ways, and that they have to give players a lot of choice and freedom, and I think we'll see things down the road that'll help to bring back some of what we've been missing. As always, guys, really hope you enjoyed the Rust Cribs footage. I have a lot of fun recording it. If you don't see your base in here, or you have a base on Rustopia that you want filmed, throw me down a bag or reach out to me, let me know. It's hard to catch everything during every wipe cycle, but I do certainly try my best. As always, guys, really had a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Fado82, peace.